Let's get to business now with Nona Peltier. Hi, Nona. KiwiSaver people are probably being overcharged for the services they get from fund managers. Now, this is according to the Financial Markets Authority. Are we all being overcharged?
Well, they don't look specifically, but they look overall. And in the last year, they did a review and they say, hey, how come KiwiSaver fund managers made 17% more on fees than they did the year before? Like $480 million of fees and all sorts. And they're saying, please explain how come this costs so much. Now, some people say, well, because some fund managers are active fund managers and some are passive. And say Simplicity, for example, would be a passive fund manager. So you just pay a very low fee and things are just basically automated. Or...
Okay, hold that thought, Nona, because I think, let's explain. Can you explain to me in simple terms the difference between active and passive?
Yeah. So the active fund managers charge a bit more, and that could account for the difference and why fees would go up. Well, so what's the difference between an active and a passive? Well, before we get to that, I just have to say that some research shows that over 50% of Kiwi savers are in the wrong type of plan to begin with. So they're in a conservative fund, that's a default fund, and so they're getting nothing much more than what you get if you put cash in the bank. Or they're in a fund, maybe they're in a really aggressive fund, but they're getting close to retirement. So they could lose all their money by the time they retire in just a few years. So they don't have time to recover. So you've really got to be sure about where you are. Once you are, though, then you have to decide whether you want an active plan or a passive one. And that's what's really important. So a passive manager would look after, say, a cash account. What do you need anybody special to tell you what's in your cash account? You're not getting anything special about it. There's no magic wand saying, well, I can get you an extra %. But let's say it's an aggressive fund. Now that's different because in that case, you would want somebody to carefully choose which kinds of companies you're investing in. You want to make sure you're going to, invest in the right ones. And then you need an active manager. Of course, if you've got someone who's actively managing your account, you'd expect to pay higher fees.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because around that debate, some people who are with passive funds, or operating passive funds, say that over the long term, they're both returning about the same.
Yes, and we have some research from another firm that is an active manager, and this one is Kiwi Invest. They just published a white paper, which is basically a paper with lots of research and footnotes in it. And they suggest that, no, history does not back up what the passive fund
managers
proponents
are
claiming. Saying, because over time, say 60 years that we've had passive investments, active management has paid off better. And in New Zealand, that is certainly true. Our active managed funds perform better than the passive ones. But that's we're a smaller country, and perhaps we, are able to do that better. Who knows? But if you go globally, it might be a different story. But certainly in New Zealand, for now, the active managers. But hey, look, the debate is open. Believe me, there's no end of questions about it. So we'll hear more about this because the Please Explain is for everyone, and they're going to have to justify, because there are some people who call themselves an active manager, but they're really not. Just saying.
Okay, please explain. Can't wait.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
What else has been happening on the markets today, Nona?
We did have a story earlier about Spark and Sky with that whole thing on the cricket. So Spark's share price fell 3%. And Sky TV's fell nearly 21% on that news. Yes, indeed. That certainly dragged down the index. We fell 0.5% by 54 points to 10,887. But our Kiwi is trading steady at 63.2 US, 93.6 Australian, and 51.6 British pence.
Thank you, Nona. Nona Peltier with our business wrap.